And then I just happen to be the person that like gets to.
Right.
It's time to feed my son.
You have a schedule of feeding your son on your phone?
Just so I don't
That
forget.
is awesome.
No, I mean like crying usually gives it away. But.
Oh, that's great. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another great episode of Women in Real Estate, powered by Badass Agents. I have a special guest with me today. I'm excited to actually introduce him because we're taking a little twist, we're taking a little turn here in this Women in Real Estate. I invited a gentleman to the podcast because I wanted to hear his perspective on how he runs his business. He is a happy person all the time. I'm sure many of you know him. He's out there constantly on social media, and he just had a baby. So we are going to turn the camera on him because I want to introduce Craig Morton. What is going on?
Not much. How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining me today on
sure.
this Women in Real Estate. But you're a male.
I'm a male.
I brought you on.
I support it, though.
And Craig Morton is actually one of our agents who has been with us for how many years now?
4.
4 years?
Yeah.
For 4 years. And when Craig first started, how long were you an agent before you started with agents? So 1 year.
1 year.
1 year. And I wanted to bring Craig in because I wanted to hear his perspective on being a business owner as a male, obviously. But one thing that I don't know, Craig seemed like a really nice gentleman. And I wanted to get to know more of his opinion on things as to how he runs his business. Because when Craig and I first met, we started our conversation in a business, obviously conversation as to how I run the back end operation of things. So we started understanding that a little bit. What I found different about Craig is he actually went and had the courage to ask a woman how she runs the back-end operation of a business, which most men go to men for all that advice because, men know it all. So, but Craig took a different approach in business. He came to me and he said, Carla, how do you run the back end and how do you do X, Y, and Z? How do I, the simplicity of starting, taxes and LLC, payroll, and all these other things, obviously. And so he, had the courage to do that. Again, most men go to men, not to women for the most part. Because, the man like I said, the man knows it all. But in this time, it was a little different. So what had you or what attracted you to come in my direction to ask me those type of questions, Craig?
I think I generally think women are smarter than men. I'm serious.
and how so?
Just women are more organized. Like you guys are more, I think that, well, I read a statistic, and I did this like in high school, and it's kind of silly, but it was that like marriages where a woman is higher educated than the man, you typically last longer.
Good, I like that.
No, but it's true. And then I also grew up in, my family had a construction company, and my mom ran all the business part of it. Like my dad built homes and did remodels and was super smart on that, like in the field stuff. But without my mom, there would have been no business. Right. And my dad recognized that. And so I was kind of raised to understand that women are strong, women are powerful, and we're kind of screwed without them.
I love that you said that. We had this conversation. I was having it this morning with AC. Entrepreneur versus business owner. Two completely different things. Not to say I'm not an entrepreneur, because I am. I have my own ideas, and I run with them. But for the most part, AZ is the entrepreneur, and I'm the business owner. Yep. And I run the back-end operation, and I run it well. Obviously, there's a lot of things to learn. We're constantly learning. But I love that you saw that coming into this brokerage. That's what you saw. You saw, okay, AZ Araujo is an entrepreneur, and I see how Carla's running the whole back-end operation and how she's running things. But you are one of the few when this brokerage, when you started coming on board, where it was like, I'm going to go to the masses. I'm going to go to Carla Araujo. I'm going to go and ask her and pick her brain way before anything else, because I need to know how to run the operation to make sure I stay in business. Yeah. So I love that about you, and I love the fact that you just said, hey, my dad saw this, so you followed that perfect example. I mean, it was a phenomenal example. How is it in your household today? I know you're married, Caitlin.
Yeah,
how does that ran
we're
in your
really
house?
a team. I mean, it's not. She's much more organized. I'm like I'm more of like the idea guy. Like I have something and then I run with it and then I'm like
All over
I
the
love
place.
doing stuff. I love being busy. But Caitlin's the one that's like more logical and like, hey, we need to, service the AC unit. Like as far as like keeping things in order, like she's like, don't even do laundry because you're gonna do like a half a load and you're gonna mess it up because you're gonna get going on something else. Like she does that, but not because she's a woman. It's just kind of like how we complement each other.
Yeah, I love that.
So I don't really feel like anybody necessarily has a job.
Right. She's just good at the organization part of it.
She's much more organized and like can execute like.
Well, and I know Caitlin does so many things. She's a nurse, right? And she actually had a promotion just recently, and now she's on a new adventure, and a whole new adventure, opening up another business, and going in that direction of other things. How do you feel about that?
I think it's awesome. I think that there's nothing cooler to me than like a woman with drive, like because. The stereotype, like women don't get enough credit for what they do anyways. Like even just in real estate, like the majority, there's like over half of the first-time home buyers with like single men, single women, and families and stuff like that. Single women like are over half of that. Right. And then you have like men and families. Splitting the other half. Yeah. Like they don't get enough credit for what they do and how much power they have. And it's just, I think that's just like an old school way to look at things.
Right.
But I think it's awesome. Like she's still a nurse. She's a charge nurse of her floor.
She just had a baby. You guys just had a baby.
Just had a baby.
Yeah.
In the midst, we have a 3-week-old son, and she just leased out a spot to start doing her Botox and fillers. And so
she's still running.
Yeah, she's not. You can't stop her.
Yeah, in that sense. Yeah, she's a business owner.
Oh, absolutely.
So she is definitely ahead of the game. In 3 weeks of a baby, and still having those goals and making sure nothing is stopping her. Not even.
Cool.
Yeah, that is really neat.
Yeah. How
do you see yourself, Craig, in the clientele base? Is it more female? Do you have more females as clients? Or is it just a little balance of both? Because you work really well with females. I mean, the respect that you have for business owners, entrepreneur women, single moms is like extreme. I mean, I thank you for that. You have much respect. And I personally know you in the sense, I've also trained Craig Morton too. I've been his trainer. So because of me, you see him all fit. And I was in his space, and, it was like, you can do much more when you went into the gym. You were a little heavier.
Yep.
If I can say that, because you were, and that's the truth.
For sure.
And so I thank you. I was part of that growth.
Yeah.
It feels great to say that, part of that growth. How did you feel in that sense, Craig? Let's take a little turn in our conversation here of me training you.
So I've had trainers in the past, like with like baseball and football, and just personal trainers in the gym for like short periods of time and stuff like that. But they were all men. So you were the first female that I kind of came to and was like, hey, but you're also a professional bodybuilder. So, I mean, you got the credibility there.
I'll give it to you there.
But I remembered I wasn't happy with the way I was feeling and eating and, that sort of thing. So I came to you and asked you to train me. And that was cool because it wasn't. It was a different way to look at training because I mean, women do think differently than men, and it was like the intensity was insane, and like
and that's it. That was I had cool. to. As a woman trainer, it's extremely, as a personal trainer, it's actually really hard because, as you know, and many people have trained with me, I'm not just your regular trainer.
No.
The intensity of it behind it is it's intense. It really is. But that's the whole thing, is for me to actually be present in the moment as almost like military status.
But there's more passion than like you.
There you are. Yeah, like, I get it.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Like and I don't know if that's women in general or.
I think
I don't know if that necessarily, but women feel more, I think, on a I don't know, than men. Like men, it's a little more probably business number minded a little bit.
Makes sense.
And
Makes
then
sense.
women have the feelings a little bit more. And
Right.
if you channel those feelings like into making that like channeling your power with the feelings, that the intensity's going to be through the roof.
Makes sense. Well, thank you for giving me that respect, because you never once made me feel as a woman like I couldn't teach you.
Because you could kick my ass.
Exactly the point. I mean, it was great. It was great. So, Craig, I have another question for you. I just love this podcast because I'm just trying to pick as a male perspective. I'm trying to pick your brain for females out there that need to listen to this. So you just said something, my passion and all that, the respect that you showed me as a woman in business and being your personal trainer.
Yeah.
Did you think that part, is there any time in there where you were just like, you know what, I need to just go into the mindset of just what she's saying is not correct? Did that ever cross your mind, me being a female? No. In a sense, that makes sense? Because you kept coming back for more and more, I guess, just knowledge and just wanting to know more. Yeah. So you and I built that great bond and that business aspect of it, of constantly picking my brain. Is there any time in the frame where you're like, you know what, this is not...
Like she's just a woman?
Yeah, like she's just a woman kind of deal?
But I think that's a lot of that's the way I was raised. Like, my dad, like, there was no, like, my dad put my mom on a pedestal. You know what I mean? At least, like, taught me, like, that there is, not necessarily that a woman has a job or a place, but there's always a place.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So, like, not necessarily that, like, you should cook and clean. My dad did all the cooking, you know, like, it's not like they... you know, the typical thing, but I don't think that I've just kind of been ingrained in my head. So I guess I'm kind of lucky on that.
You are because like I said, most men do not think like you from a lot of the men I've come across.
Yeah.
I've had, I don't know, dinner conversations, business conversations, that if, you know, there's certain conversations we run into where the male is looking at AZ on the business aspect and he's just, I'm like, if you just ask me, I have all the answers. Like, AZ is like looking at me like, answer. Like, I don't know that, like, answer. And it is so, I love that about you because you look towards, it's not about male or female to you. It's, hey, I need to learn. And now I need to be that student in every aspect, you know, to constantly pick everyone's brain. Going on that, do you ever run into real estate agents as females that are just a little aggressively powerful, like, just, you know.
Yeah, like they're trying to like overcompensate.
Yep, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there.
There's guys that are do the same thing, you know. And that's
how do you treat the male versus the female in that? There has to be a different way you treat them both.
There is. A man, I have a little more of a tendency to like bark back at. And I'm not really like a barker, but like I hit that, like I just try, like normally I'm just kind of like quiet. I like try to give it to them like, hey, they're probably having a bad day anyways. And then I just happen to be the person that like gets to, it's time to feed my son.
You have a schedule of feeding your son on your phone?
Just so I don't
That
forget.
is awesome.
No, I mean like crying usually gives it away. But,
oh, that's great.
So anyways.
That's great. That's great. We're going to talk about those daddy duties right now in just a moment.
What were we talking about?
About treating a male versus a female a little different when they get a little aggressive.
With women, I did this just randomly, and I had some lady that was just like chewing me up one day, and it was like there was repairs that needed to be done, and they were big, and I sent the list of repairs, and then I called her and I was like, hey, I just want to let you know there's a few like pretty big items here, and I didn't want to just like toss it over. I wanted to talk about it. Like, what do we need to do to figure it out? And she unleashed on me, and I was just like letting her just go. And then finally, like, I'd kind of had enough, and I was like, hey, can you please just treat me with the same respect that I've been giving you this whole transaction? Yeah. And she just, like, stopped, and then she was like, Craig, I'm sorry. It's been a rough day. I had a deal fall apart, blah, blah, you know, like, had all these excuses on why she did it, and not really excuses, but what it boiled down to is it wasn't me.
Right.
And that was a good learning experience for me because now, male or female, you
Right.
typically somebody unleashes on you. It's not really you.
It's not really, yeah.
And if you can,
I remember I've had those
calmly-
moments. I remember I've had those moments when I first started. I felt like I wasn't really secure in business. I didn't have that confidence when I would
that's
face the men.
society.
Yeah.
Like I said, doesn't give women nearly enough credit, and then if they go into it,
It becomes really
feeling insecure about it.
Yeah, and I just remember going in, and when we first started the brokerage, all the rules and guidelines that I had to create through trial and error, that, it's just the process of owning a business. As you go, all these rules and guidelines start to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I remember the beginning of the brokerage, I mean, we didn't have any rules and guidelines. We were just, we knew the process, and as we were growing, those rules and guidelines were getting a little big. So we started becoming, I guess you would say, an official business,
Sure.
So a lot of males were just like, man, she's rude, she's tough, she's aggressive, she's not laid back. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed to be if I'm telling you no is a no, or these are the rules and guidelines? And you're still kind of fighting back. But then when they would go to AZ, it would be like, Carla said no. It's like a mom and pop thing. Carla says no, let me go. Yeah, mom. Yeah, it was the weirdest thing that I saw. So it would be more the males than anything. It would be like, well, let me go ask AZ. And AZ for a while was like, yes to everything, because he didn't realize the power he was taking from me.
Right.
So when something wasn't going through, I would get a little like heated and aggressive, and throw that insecurity back. Like, I said no. And it was just like, wow, now I'm that bad person. Now I'm that, aggressive female that tried to take control. And that wasn't the case. Yeah. But I can see that. I can see. And I remember there was a couple of males that would come back and say, okay, I completely understand. These are the rules and guidelines. Thank you, and then that's it. It would end it. But a lot weren't happy that a female was actually running the show. They were not happy with it.
Well, I mean, that's society.
Yeah.
But I see a difference in like your like just comfort with your like channeling your power, like who you are now than when I first started.
And let's go into that. I know when I interviewed,
I mean it's in a bad way.
No, I love that.
But,
let's go into that.
Okay.
I know I interviewed a couple of somebody, I don't know who it was, but she said, you know what, let me interview you. Because you guys know me from the beginning. I love that. Let's talk about that. How did you see me in the beginning to now?
So you were a little bit more aggressive, like you never came at me in a bad way or anything. Like, so I never, I guess, firsthand, I never really experienced it. But like just with AZ, and probably because like people were playing you and then you were like, yo.
Yeah.
But now, and it's probably because AZ's grown to see you and your power a little bit more too and that sort of thing. But now it's more, you're just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're just calmer and just matter of fact about who you
just more confident in
like,
who am I? Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if you ask him. I don't care.
Right.
Because I'm still the person that
is in charge,
running this portion of the business.
Right. Oh, that's that. And I'm glad you brought that up.
So what made that change?
What made that change is I started being more confident in myself. I started knowing what I deliver it's good. It works, but I had to start believing in myself a little bit more, I think, in that sense. And it comes again from obviously years of being beat down, of so much negativity, of being bullied, I guess. The whole past comes to haunt you.
Right.
I think for a very long time, my past was doormat. And so now that I brought it up, as I was in business and I saw more and more, I guess adults can bully. Just like kids. So I was being bullied by a lot of males and females. So that anger started coming out because, again, a lot of my anger was doormat. It was just dead. It was like, okay, it's sleeping.
Right.
So when I started stepping more into my power, and feeling more secure and, telling myself more like, wait a minute, I do run the show. Right. And no one's going to like me, obviously, when you start to collect and do rules and guidelines. Who's going to like you? No one likes to follow rules. No one likes to pay. No one likes to do any of that. So, but in order for me to run a business and make sure we're here in 20 years from this point, or make sure it's, a business that's going to run freely of, I'm not in business to go broke.
Right.
And I'm sure as hell not in business to lose money.
Right.
But I didn't see all that. I always wanted everyone to like me. I always wanted to be kind. I always wanted to be respectful. The reality is I'm not in business to lose money. And I'm not in business to start falling apart in, 6-7 years from that point. So I started to realize, like, hold on a second. Not everyone's going to like me. Who is going to like me? So I have to go in it with this confidence. But again, all that anger woke up. And it was like, no was like, wah, So I see a lot of women in real estate. And even with myself, when I pick up the phone with a lot of agents or come cross sales or whatever, they're angry. Yeah. They're mad. Yeah. And it's like, it's okay. Like all that's coming up because you don't want to be feeling like you don't know. You want to be respected. Right. And so with that comes this aggressive attitude, right? Uh-huh. But it's not so much aggressive attitude as they're feeling belittled in a sense, I think, by the male on the other end. Insecurity. Sure. So when someone calls them out on something, they just blow up. And it's like, hold on, all that comes from somewhere. Okay. So that's kind of, and I'm only speaking because that was my experience, and I'm sure if a lot of people out there are going to deny that, or a lot of people are going to be like, oh my God, that was me, Carla. So I get it. But that was me.
Okay, so do you think, because I remember you telling me that it was like you hit a point where it was hard for you to work out because you said you couldn't get mad anymore?
Yes.
Do you think that was because you started like realizing the value that you brought?
Of course.
And then you like it gave you the confidence?
And I knew I've said this in the previous podcast that I've made on Do the Work. And if you're wanting to know more about me, go to dothework.com, follow me there. There's a lot about me there. So this conversation is very much in my social, in my life that I lived, and go to dothework.com to follow me. But anyway, yes, a lot of that when I started being more secure and understanding that, hey, I am a smart, knowledgeable person in this whole fitness industry thing, I couldn't step up to that. I couldn't. So my power came from getting rid of that anger, right? And just really loving myself and being like, shit, I am good at what I do. Yeah. So I fully went in there with that confidence. So yeah, me training, and I started a program within our brokerage called Fit in 12. That's where it all started. I started going in there with this power and this just passion and knowing, hey, I do know my shit. Yeah. This is for me. I am meant to lead. I am meant to be this woman. Right. But yeah, it took me a long time to get there. It wasn't easy. But again, you want to hear my full story, go to dothework.com.
That's cool.
Yeah. So anyway, is that what you're asking me?
Kind of.
Great. Yeah. If I didn't go that route, it's okay.
No,
I told
like
more
it.
about myself than I had to.
I like it.
So Craig, where do you see yourself in the future? Where do you, I know we're not talking future 10 years from now, but you have a baby. Uh-huh. Caitlin's moving to a new adventure, into a new business. Mm-hmm. So where do you see yourself? Because now you have daddy duties. I see your phone going off. So how's business going for you? It's going phenomenal, I know, but what is your next step? Like, what's your next move? What we got going on? Talk to me.
I'm really looking forward to like when Rex gets mobile, and I'm just going to bring him with me.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And our brokerage here, we actually have a lot of males who've had babies. Mm-hmm. And I see them often. They come in with their babies. It's a whole new era now. I mean, holy smokes. I love it. AZ would never have carried no baby. I mean, that was back then. Society said, nah, woman takes care of the kiddos. And this was like just 14 years ago. Yeah. So it's not very long ago. But it's great that the more I'm surrounded by happy people like you, I get to see more of that. The male is now carrying that baby, and the female's completely like, hey, it's up to you. Change the diapers. Yeah. Put some timers on your phone to feed the baby.
Just in case I'm alone with it. I got to remember to
now,
feed him.
Do you, I know your business is not going to slow down, but your systems and processes now have advanced are really awesome for you to take that time off and spend time at home with your kids and more with Caitlin. Right. So how did that start?
Thankfully, it kind of was done I wasn't really planning ahead for it, but it kind of, I have Sam, she's my client care specialist. She's awesome. She kind of runs the business.
There we go, another female.
Yeah, I got
running that part of your business, female. So talk to me.
So, and then my mom, she like analyzes all our listings every week and sends a report to them. So I get to do a lot of the marketing and be out there with the clients, showing homes, meeting with people. I try to like really just throw educational stuff out there and that sort of thing. So it does kind of give me that space.
Right.
Because I'm not buried in paperwork and trying to do marketing and trying to, send reports to my clients.
One, you have more one-on-one, more time for your clients.
Yeah.
Right. And so the systems and processes, you didn't even know you're building.
No.
And it just happened to be that way.
Yeah. We were in the hospital for 7 days and we were still.
And you were still okay.
Yeah,
and I know a couple of months ago you disappeared, right? To go hunting or something.
Yeah. We went hunting and Caitlin came and.
No phone access.
Family and I found out like a couple of days before we were leaving that there's literally zero phone service where we were going, and I left my phone with Sam.
And you were comfortable. Are you?
I would be comfortable doing it again. I don't know that I was super comfortable at that moment.
But it's awesome that you built that that process that gave you that, laid back a little bit. You were able to step out of the business, not so much in there. I know when I first started, I never saw AZ. So it was like constant. My brother-in-law, when he used to work with us or at the store, at the franchise that I used to own, my brother-in-law made this comment and he said, you and my brother are like not married, but yet are like the best business partners, but your marriage is like shot. Like there is no marriage. Like you guys run at a speed of a business owners, not so much marriage.
Right.
And I always thought that was kind of a negative thing in my mind. I was just like, well, I don't have much of a marriage. But we make great business partners. And I should say at the time, even then, I felt like I was AZ's secretary for a very long time. But never did I see the marriage. I guess that was a bad thing for me when I heard that, when he said that. Now I look at it as like, that wasn't anything bad. Those were just reps we needed to get to this point today.
Marriage is kind of a business.
It is, right? And so a lot of people think that that's negative.
Give and take, and you each have jobs and...
Yep.
You got to flow together and work together.
Yep.
And,
right. But when I heard that, it was like, that's not a good thing.
I could see where you...
Right? That's not a good thing. But I'm going to go ahead and roll with it.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound, but I'm going to roll with it wherever this takes me. But some of my coaching clients, I always tell them, like, if you don't have any reps with working with your husband, then your business is going to fall apart.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them are business owners and they're trying to pick up running a business with their spouse. I'm like, if you're not running like a business owner and you're bringing that marriage into play, it's done.
You have to separate that.
You have to separate it, of course. And I had to do that many times where I had to go to AZ and I'm like, hey, I need you to coach me through a process, through where I need to be in, 3 months from this point.
Right.
So I had to separate that part of me as well as the business owner, the wife, the mother.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I hired you to be my coach me. And this is where my goal is. I even had to separate that. So there's been different parts in our lives, I guess, of AZ and I where we're constantly learning and growing from each other, but we have to completely separate all that.
Yeah.
So that to me is huge. But we didn't have systems and processes in place like you do.
It all kind of, when I first hired Sam, I just knew I needed somebody. I didn't have a job description for her. That's how she came, the client care specialist. I felt like assistant was like, go get me coffee. And I knew she was better than that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So a lot of that kind of evolved, and to the point where now, she does so much and keeps things flowing smoothly on the business side of it. But a lot of that was because of they're being put in places in life where I was like, I couldn't handle everything.
Right.
And so I really had no choice but to either burn part of it down or empower her.
Right.
And one of my buddies was like, we were in Mexico fishing, and I had service, but I didn't have Wi-Fi. I was supposed to have Wi-Fi, but it wasn't working. And he's like, just give her the power.
Right.
And if you empower her, you'll be surprised how people can grow instantly. And then it helps me to grow because she grew, and then we're doing 4 times as much business today as we were when she first came on.
I love that you said that, empowering. I remember we had that conversation out in the hallway. You took such joy and a smile on your face because you came back from that and you saw the empowerment that you gave her, like the power that you gave her to take control of that aspect of your business, and you kind of stepped back a little bit. Obviously, you didn't step back comfortable. I mean, you knew a little uncomfortable. You were able still to give that power to her and not feel like you had to be full in control. And that, I don't know if I know if you guys, anybody who's watching this live on Facebook will be also. This mainly is for the podcast, but if you know Craig, the joy that he brings when he empowers a woman,
Dude, it's awesome.
The face that he makes, he literally is a happy person. He literally is a happy man when he empowers a woman. And I personally know this because some of the stuff that I do, Craig, and I pass your office, you're always like, fist pump, man, like boom, like, or if I stand my ground on a conversation over a phone call or just any scenario that I gave a huge speech, and we had, I think it was one of our sale meetings, and it was humongous. And it was big. Craig was one that, as I was giving that speech on stage, with I think over 100 people were there.
You were on fire.
I was on fire. And the smile on your face, Craig, I knew you. And when I looked around the room, I just saw a lot of males. But you were one that was like the happiest, biggest smile. You and Jesse Barker was another one.
Yeah.
And Jesse was one that stood up and he was just clapping. And then so you were just like, keep going, give us more. And I was just like, wow. Those are the men that I have so much respect for, and there's many more. But I have so much respect for those males that are constantly cheering on the female empowerment, and that's you. And literally, it's not just from the sideline, or it's not you just secretly empower. No, you literally stand up and bring this joy that it brings you when you see a woman empower.
Right.
It's insane. So I appreciate you, Craig.
I probably tend to do it. I don't know why. I mean,
it just naturally comes out.
It's just natural or
exactly.
whatever. I mean, I try to I feel that men should be powerful as well.
Oh, no, of course.
You know what I mean? So it's not really just like a woman thing, but
it's rare that a male.
I feel like a lot of.
It's not rare. A male do obviously cheer on the female.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, but today is about today.
To see the,
right now at this very moment, I'm talking about you.
Right. It's cool to see. I feel like when women are empowered, they jump leaps and bounds. It's just it explodes, and it's just super cool. Yeah. And I don't know.
And that's why you're in the position.
Think that's threatening, or I just think it's cool to be around.
Yeah. No, and that's why you're in the position that you are. You have, like you said, the business is being ran by a female. Right. Your household is female. And your mom is very much involved.
Sure.
So you're surrounded by females.
Strong ones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
honestly, one of my biggest pet peeves in life is a woman that doesn't she can't just fucking own it.
Oh, I love that.
It drives me bonkers. I'm like, make a fucking decision.
Right. Yes, decide what you want. Go in there powerfully. You know, I get some females too. When we're talking, it's a lot of giggling.
Yeah.
It's a lot of movement and insecurity, and I'm just like, no,
own it.
Own that shit. Yeah, and I get that frustration. But I love because once I finish talking to them, they get the sense of fire, and that's where the important comes in. The important part of it, where it comes in, where I tell people, surround yourself by powerful people, because they will be your biggest cheerleaders. And one of the things that I appreciate you when you had walked in when I met you years ago, you gave me that sense of empowerment, and you've understood, hey, I'm the business owner, I'm going to pick your brain, and you took it all in like a sponge. Yeah. So it's just incredible that, I don't know, you gave me that respect.
I don't think I looked at you any different because you were a woman. I think I just saw that you had that knowledge and I wanted it.
But again, a lot of men are blind to that. They're blind to that. They are. Yeah. They're blind to that. A lot of men go towards the man.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't they? Yeah. Right? They see a powerful man and they go towards that. So anyway, Craig, your schedule for your feeding your baby is going off apparently. So
Caitlin's got wrecked, so we're safe.
Caitlin, if you're watching this,
I told her to. I don't know. She's actually getting her nails done.
Speaking of nails, you just had a manicure the other day, huh? You had to go right now, manicures. Yeah, I got to.
I bit my nails for so long, and they were going back. So then I just started going to Caitlin's nail lady, and she puts gel on them, and then she buffs them. One time she forgot to buff them. I got in the car and I put my hand on the steering wheel, and it was like, boing! And I was like, No.
So now you know what women go through on the manicures.
It's my special time.
I love it. Well, thank you for being a guest with me, a guest on my podcast
Absolutely.
today for Women in
My
Real
pleasure.
Estate. It was awesome just to get to the male perspective on so many different areas that we targeted. We're probably all over the place, but there was so much I wanted to know and kind of pick your brain a little bit on what you thought on the male perspective part of it. But if clients want to reach out and work more with you, Craig, I know you're all over social media.
Yep.
If you haven't seen Craig, his baby's everywhere. It's just, I love his page. It's so real and raw and authentic. I just love it. Where can they reach you? What is your Facebook?
Facebook, just Craig Morton, or I have my business page, Craig Morton Realty. My personal page is more fun. Go on that one. You can message me. My phone number is all over it. Instagram, Craig_Morton. But I help happy people buy and sell homes. So.
And he really does. I got to tell you, Craig, and your parties are, Craig, you make a lot of people happy just by being you and your personality, and so much about you just shines. It's crazy. I've gone to a couple of his parties, and they're massively huge. Like, I don't know,
everybody's invited. I don't care.
Literally, like,
I just like people.
I went to a party. Went to your wedding.
Yeah.
And I sat in this little fire pit, and I remember asking, I don't know who, some random person that sits next to us, how do you know Craig? I don't know, but he's always happy. He's like, I don't know, but he's always happy. I've known him a couple, I've met him, and he tells me this whole story where he met you, and it was just a happy moment for him. And so you can just tell so many people just enjoy your company. So thank you for joining me today. If you are interested in AZ & Associates Real Estate Group, go to badassagents.com to apply. Again, it's badassagents.com. If you're interested in AZ & Associates Real Estate Group, get to know us a little bit more. Go to badassagents.com. You'll hear other testimonials of other agents on what AZ & Associates brings to them. It's incredible in what we got going on out here. So again, badassagents.com to apply.